Welcome back. Be sure to leave a comment if you have anything to add to this discussion or any future discussions, or if you have anything in the future you want me to discuss, let me know down in the comments. Or if you have anything to comment about the channel in general, you know the gist by now. Also be sure to check my other channel, YC Games. It's one with the orange logo. And without further ado, let's get right on to this video. So, like I said in my last video, I really enjoyed Borderlands 3. I am loving it. I love basically every part about it. Obviously, I had my couple complaints that I mentioned in the last video, but overall, great game, love it. One of my biggest complaints, though, has got to be the story. It's just, it's not quite there. And honestly, I don't play Borderlands for the story. I don't think anyone really does. But this one just definitely under-delivered. You know, the characters especially. And that's what most of this video is going to be talking about, is the characters. And I will be talking kind of about DLC and the future of where the story can go in that way. But yeah, that's what this video is mostly about. Spoiler alert, if you have not finished the story, do not watch this video, because I will definitely be talking about the story, obviously. A lot of the game's story is only as good as its villain, and the Calypso twins are serviceable at best. Now, obviously, it would be near impossible to recreate that lightning in a bottle that was Handsome Jack. I love Handsome Jack as a villain. I've said it multiple times over multiple videos. Handsome Jack is my favorite villain of all time. And it would be impossible to recreate that kind of genius without directly ripping him off. And I didn't want that. No one really wanted that. No one wanted another Handsome Jack. They just wanted a villain as good as Handsome Jack, which again is pretty much impossible. So I didn't really expect the Calypso twins to be amazing. I did not expect them to be on the level of Handsome Jack. I just didn't expect them to be this much worse. Now, the Calypso twins themselves, I like what they're doing with it. I like the idea behind it. The snotty, annoying, always in your face, always, hey, we're gods kind of streamer mentality. I think that's hilarious, because I don't watch streamers, but every time I do log in once in a while, that is what a lot of them seem to be. That's what, I mean, some of their followings seem to be like cults. And I'm not making fun of anyone if they are big into streamers. I'm personally not. I'm not a fan of it. But I just find it funny that that's the way they're going with this, especially because how much of this game was marketed towards and like with streamers in mind. So as a concept, and even the execution, their whole thing, I like it. The problem is, it's too much of it. They would have been great secondary villains, or side villains, or even like the main villains, like two henchmen, like two highest officials. If they were did that way, that would have been better. They would have been more of a side thing, or even like have a whole series of side missions dedicated to the twins. That would have been great, because I like them as characters, but not as the main threat. I really didn't care to go forward anymore, thinking like, okay, we're just taking down streamers. Like that's the whole thing. I get they have an army and they're the whole world ending whatever, but I didn't care that much. Like, they weren't compelling enough villains to make me want to keep going. They were annoying, which I get. That's the point. The point of them was to be annoying. But they almost did it in the wrong way. You can't have annoying villains in a good way. Again, Handsome Jack, beautiful example. He was annoying as hell, but he was hilarious, and he was meant to be annoying. That's what made him so great. But the twins are just annoying for annoying's sake. Like, they're not compelling enough to make you want to keep going, want to keep fighting them. They just didn't raise up to the standard, and I feel like it would have been a lot better even if they would have made like the Malawan head, like if they would have made him the main villain and have the Calypso twins be like his two henchmen. I think that would have been a lot better. But that's just my opinion. I just think they could have done a lot better with the villains, personally. Well, the villains were a big issue for me. The real big issue for me, as far as the story goes, is the other characters, the rest of the characters. Because Borderlands stories are driven forward with the characters, you know. Yes, we as the Vault Hunters are kind of driving the story, but in reality, we're living out the other characters' stories. Like in Borderlands 2, we were really playing through Lilith and Roland's story of, you know, like, they were the leaders, they were telling us what to do, we were basically we were their henchmen, really. And I was okay with that, I loved that. But for 3, it just kind of missed the mark, because we're basically only talking to Lilith, Lilith and Tannis are like the only two characters we really interact with throughout Borderlands 3. And that just sucks. Like, this franchise has built up so many characters, and there's a couple more introduced, and that's all we get to interact with at all is Lilith, Tannis, and once in a while the new characters. And that just really, really makes me upset. That's all there's to say about it. It just makes me upset that they had all this potential with the returning characters, and they just did nothing with it. And even the new characters introduced aren't that great. Like, Lorelei, I can only think of a couple things she says that were somewhat entertaining. They're just kind of annoying. Ava is not great at all. Like, she's just kind of a snotty teenager, which I know enough snotty teenagers in real life. I really don't want that in my Borderlands game. Another snotty teenager. Wainwright was alright. I do like Wainwright. I can't say anything bad about him. I just love Jacobs in general. So the fact that, you know, also Wainwright, you know, Right Choice Gaming. I like everything about Wainwright. But other than that, nothing great. But, you know, those are new characters, alright? You know, a lot of it's hit and miss, depending on who you like, who you don't like. And that's kind of the same with the other characters. What really makes me mad about this, though, is they had awesome established characters that I loved, that I just absolutely wanted to see the continuation of their story. I wanted to see Tina, not tiny Tina, but actually grown-up Tina. I want to see how she matured, and not obviously mature like, oh, now she's an adult, she has to act responsible. No, I wanted to see just a grown-up version of that kid that we saw in Borderlands 2. And I was really looking forward to that, and we have that. The moments when she's there, that's kind of what I wanted her to be, is still tiny Tina, but grown up, just with that same tiny Tina attitude, and I'm excited for that. And even same with like Brick and Mordecai. You know, when they're there, they're kind of what I wanted. But that's the problem, is that they're never there. They're hardly in the story. If you've never played Borderlands before, you would have no idea why they were even there. Because they show up, you know, in their introduction missions with the flashy introductions that they have, and that's it. You get like maybe, I think, 1 or 2 side missions with them, but that's it. Like, that's the only main mission they're in. I'm talking main story now. I'm not going into side missions in this video, but main story wise, they're only in their introduction mission. That's all I can think of they're in. Maybe one other mission, but I can't remember. And that's just a disappointment, because I wanted to see how their stories progressed. And even then, like, not even those characters. Yeah, we've seen them in the past games. I was really looking forward to seeing like Maya and Zero as NPCs. And Zero we got a decent chunk out of, but he's not there that as much as I thought he was going to be. But Maya's what I'm really disappointed in. I was super excited. When I saw Maya in the trailer, I'm like, hell yes. Because she was my favorite person to play as. She's my favorite Vault Hunter to play as in Borderlands 2. And I was so excited to see her as an NPC and pretty much see her take up Lilith's role almost. As, you know, kind of like how Lilith took over for Roland. I was almost excited to see Maya take over for Lilith in this game. And, like I said, spoiler at the front of it. I said that at the front of the video. They killed her off way too early. Like, she was, again, barely in the game. She was there for an introduction mission, a couple missions afterwards, and then they just killed her off in the most anticlimactic way possible. Like, it wasn't even like a good death. Like Roland's death in Borderlands 2, that was a good death. That's how you do a death in a video game. Maya's death was just like, oh, she's dead now. They did it in such an awkward way that I genuinely thought she was still alive. Like, not even like a, oh, she can't be dead, she can't be dead. It was like a, oh, so she's coming back, right? Like, she's not dead. No, she's dead, at least as far as we know. Unless they bring her back in DLC, which would be stupid. Yeah, she's gone. She's dead. And that's disappointing. I was looking forward to seeing her through the whole story, and even further into the franchise of the game. I was excited to see that. But no, we don't get to see that. She's dead. She's dead now. And like I said, Zero's there for longer, but not much. I guess I can't really complain. Zero had a pretty decent part in it, so you know they did Zero right, I guess. I don't know. Just when I saw Zero and Maya in the trailers, I was so excited to finally see the Vault Hunters of Borderlands 2 as NPCs. I was ready for them to basically be what the Borderlands 1 Vault Hunters were in Borderlands 2. It was going to be awesome, but they weren't. It was basically just Lilith and Tannis the whole game. And I liked Lilith. I said liked. I don't really know if I like her anymore. That's how bad they handled her in this game. Like, they took away her siren powers, then she's like, well, I want to be a siren. And now I'm sad 'cause I'm not a siren. Which it was sad. But that was about it. She basically just sat on the ship and then Tannis took over. Like, I don't know. It was just so weird. It was off-putting. Like, that's kind of how this whole story could be summed up. It's just off-putting. Like, you never really knew what was a joke, what was serious, what was, like, actually dramatic, what was supposed to go off as a joke. It's just weird. And we didn't even get to see Axton or Salvador. Now, don't get me wrong, Axton's just kind of like a generic soldier dude, so there's nothing lost there, but Salvador's neat, I guess, in his own way. But, again, I just thought they were going to take over the Borderlands 1 rules, even expand their characters in this way. Like, we learn a lot about Maya's past, or not so much past, but like, you know, kind of her story in the brief time that she's actually with us in the game. But we don't really learn anything about Axton or Salvador, or really much about Zero either. But Zero is a mysterious character and he should stay mysterious, so that I'm okay with not learning any more about. But I was looking forward to seeing more of Axton and Salvador, and this is where DLC comes into play.
I decided to train her as my apprentice. I've got my book and heading your
Now,
way
this is where the hype for Borderlands 3 is not yet dead, is in the DLC. Now, they've kind of almost promised, not really promised, but they have said a few times that it will be very similar to Borderlands 2 DLC, as in like the big main chunks that you gotta pay for are actually worth the money. Like, they are good chunks of DLC. And they're gonna kind of focus the same way as Borderlands 2, meaning they are gonna focus on like specific characters. And this is where I think like Axton and Salvador are going to come back into play, is that they're going to get their own DLC chunks, or at least be featured in some of that DLC, which I'm excited for. I want to see that. I'm definitely excited for the DLC, and I really hope that they do bring back some of those characters. And of those characters to bring back, there is one in particular that it's almost confirmed he has his own DLC through the audio logs we hear, and that is Krieg. I am so excited. I am so happy that they even mentioned Krieg in this game. I was so afraid they was going to kill him off camera and not even mention it. But yes, Krieg is still alive, at least as far as we know in this game, because there are audio logs of Krieg and Maya talking, and just Krieg talking to himself, which is cool because we get to hear like the inner voice as well again. And they're definitely set him up to be part of some DLC. And I have a couple theories about what that could be. Pretty obvious ones if I'm being honest with myself. But yeah, I'm going to save that for another video. That'll probably be my next video is talking about that. But yes, I would be very surprised if Krieg is not at least prominently featured in one of the DLC packs, because they definitely set him up to be. And I really want that because Krieg is my favorite character as far as lore-wise goes, because I just love him and his internal struggle with, you know, his insanity and whatnot. I think that is awesome, and they should have done a lot more with that in Borderlands 2, but I understand he's a DLC character, so I really hope they do that more about that in Borderlands 3.
Where is it? Not here or anywhere, because I don't.
That's about all I really have to say. I'm not going to nitpick like any particular spot of the story, because especially the ending, I could really nitpick because I was not a fan of that ending, and honestly that could probably be dedicated to its whole another video. But that's just the gist of it. I know I talked about mostly about the characters in this video, but in reality, like I did mention earlier, a lot of Borderlands story is like driven by the characters, because they are like typically the best part. And honestly, I think Borderlands 3 just dropped the ball on that. I love the game. You know, as far as the gameplay wise, the mechanics, everything they added, the guns, everything is amazing. Just the story is not so much. And I realize this is a game built for the end game, where the story doesn't matter. After you get past the story, that's where the real game starts. And I am down for that. But I would be a liar if I said I was super happy about the story in Borderlands 3, because I was truly disappointed. But hey, that's just me. Maybe you guys enjoyed it. Maybe you guys love the new characters. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan, except Wainwright. I did like Wainwright, but they almost spent too much time with him, I think. But yeah, I think they should have spent a lot more time with the returning characters that we already know, we already love. Or at least gave them more of a mention than just, hey, look, they're in the game. All right, now look to never see them again, because why would we focus on them? You know, people like them. I don't know. I probably will make a video talking about my theories for a Krieg DLC pack. Probably make a video when Bloody Harvest comes out, and that Maliwan Takedown, I believe is what they're called now. It's like a raid thing. I don't know. I'm excited for it. That's why I am truly excited for Borderlands 3 in general, like going forward. Is that there seems to be so much more stuff they're adding as far as DLC packs, and free DLC especially. Any game that gives away free DLC for really no reason, because most games when you give away free DLC is because they did something wrong. They not do something wrong. They're just giving away free DLC because they know, hey, we want people to keep playing this game because it's awesome. So the fact that they're doing that is just awesome to me, and they should be, round of applause to Gearbox and 2K for doing that. And I am excited for the actual paid DLC packs, because in the past for Borderlands 2, they have been spectacular, so I'm excited to see what they're going to do in 3. But yeah, that's all for this one. Remember, the world doesn't know anything, but keep your stick on the ice. We're all in this together. See you in the next one. Bye.